Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Brett's Bible Basics. And today we are going to talk about predestination, what that means, and most importantly, where it is found in the Bible. So let's start with what predestination is. Predestination means something that is already determined or already decided upon before time. Now, according to the Bible, God predestines events and all who will believe in Him. An example of predestination is also prophecy. As there are many prophecies in both the Old and the New Testament, many of them have already been fulfilled, and there's also ones that have yet to take place. Now let's look at predestination found in the Scriptures and what the Bible has to say about it. Now in the New Testament, Paul spoke about predestination in Romans 8:29 and 30, which says, "For whom he foreknew, he also predestined to be conformed to the image of his Son, that he might be the firstborn among many brethren. Moreover, whom he predestined, these he also called. Whom he called, these he also justified. And whom he justified, these he also glorified." Paul is saying that God foreknew us, which is to say, He knew about us before we were ever born or created. Not only did He know us, but He chose those who will be His followers. Over in the letter of Ephesians, Paul again talks about predestination. In Ephesians 1, verse 4 and 5, Paul says, "Just as He chose us in Him before the foundation of the world, that we should be holy and without blame before Him in love, having predestined us to adoption as sons by Jesus Christ to Himself, according to the good pleasure of His will." Then later, still in chapter 1, in verse 11, Paul again says, "In Him also we have obtained an inheritance, being predestined according to the purpose of Him who works all things according to the counsel of His will." Paul teaches here again that we are chosen by God before the foundation of the world, before time. He refers to us as being chosen and adopted, and that this is an inheritance for believers to be called according to His will. Jesus also refers to this as choosing us in John chapter 15, verse 16, which says, "You did not choose me, but I chose you, and appointed you, that you should go and bear fruit, and that your fruit should remain, that whatever you ask the Father in my name, He may give you." We also see God's sovereignty in the Old Testament many times, such as Jeremiah 1:5, which reads, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I sanctified you. I ordained you as a prophet to the nations." We see here that God knew Jeremiah before he was even conceived or formed, and He had appointed Jeremiah to be a prophet to the nation of Israel. Now, over in the book of Isaiah, chapter 46, verse 10, we see that God, declaring the end from the beginning, and from ancient times things are not yet done, saying, "My counsel shall stand, and I will do all my pleasure." God knows everything that has happened or ever will happen, and there is nothing that will stand against God's will. Now, one of my favorite examples of this is over in Psalm 2, when the kingdoms and peoples of the earth plot against the Lord and His anointed, which are Christians and everyone that He has predestined. And in Psalm 2:4, we see that He who sits in heavens shall laugh. The Lord shall hold them in derision. Now, this verse is saying that God literally laughs when the kingdoms and the people of the earth try to plot against Him or those that He has chosen. God's will always stands, and the plans of men always fall before Him. So that will about wrap it up here for today's episode on predestination, and I want to thank you for listening, and I encourage you to share this podcast with anyone you may know that is looking to learn about God and the Bible. On the next episode, we're going to be discussing the gospel and what the Bible says you must do to be saved. Thank you again for listening, and don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Brett's Bible Basics, and I will see you all next time.